Hi guys, Mrnewmobile here. Apple iPad mini 6 release date, price, and specs. Please subscribe followed by the bell. You can also keep up on Facebook, Twitter by clicking the links in the description. Please help me by purchase any one of the products using the link below. Thanks for your support. If you were looking for the iPad mini 6 for this holiday season, you're probably a bit disappointed. As rumors suggest, Apple's not going to spend that much time developing the iPad mini 6 as it did the iPad mini 5. Thanks to some recent reliable rumors, we've just got a decent idea of not just when we'll see the next pint-sized Apple tablet, but what reasons it might give us to upgrade. The rumored changes, as we've seen them so far, ranging from a powerful new processor to a surprising new high-end display technology and/or redesign. A recent research note from Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo says that Apple plans to release the iPad mini 6 in the first half of 2021. The iPad mini 5 came out in March 2019, which would place about 2 years in between iterations. Apple typically releases new iPads in March, so this would not be a surprise. The iPad mini 6 will likely keep the $399 price we see in its predecessor. Apple has generally kept its tablets at the same price over the years, and the iPad mini starts with 64 GB of storage, which gives it a better value proposition against the 32 GB $329 iPad. The 256 GB iPad mini costs $149 more at $549, and that price to storage upgrade pattern also looks to continue. The biggest bit of news from Ming-Chi Kuo's reports is that the iPad mini 6 won't be so miniature. The new iPad mini is expected to have an 8.5-inch screen, which will be an increase of 8% from the iPad mini 5's 7.9-inch screen. While an earlier note from Kuo suggested the tablet screen could be as big as 9 inches, rumors seem to have solidified around the 8.5-inch size. Kuo's also suggested that the next iPad mini is one of the devices that Apple's considering using a mini LED screen, which has all the display quality perks of OLED screens, without the decay issues. But that was earlier in the year when Kuo claimed this iPad mini 6 would be 7.9 inches and coming out in 2020, two things that feel as if they're not on the table anymore. The iPad mini 6 will feature an A13 processor, which makes sense as an upgrade from the A12 Bionic chips in the iPad mini 5. That post also notes the iPad mini 6 will continue the use of the Lightning port. This connector has been something of a contentious point among Apple rumors as of late. There's a lot of speculation Apple will kill the port off altogether in the iPhone 13, while the iPad Pro got the universal USB-C port. So there's a lot of folks out there thirstily speculating that the iPad mini 6 could gain a design that looks more like the new iPad Pro than the iPad, with slimmer bezels and no home button. There's no reason to see those thoughts as anything beyond wishing upon a star. This 8.5-inch iPad mini doesn't sound like a device that will undergo a radical transformation. Just look at how the 9.7-inch iPad became the 10.2-inch iPad, the chassis just got a little larger. It's not hard to see why people want the iPad Pro's design for the iPad mini. It even opens the tablet up to supporting the magnetically docking 2nd-gen iPad Pencil, which is much better than the 1st-gen Pencil. These early iPad mini 6 leaks suggest that Apple's not resting on last year's update and is looking to make the next iPad mini at least an evolution of the product. If in fact we see a mini LED iPad mini 6, the tablet would feel like a revolution over the previous edition, which was pretty good to begin with. But as long as we get a bigger screen that doesn't make the iPad mini much bigger, it's still the mini model after all. Along with a performance boost, the iPad mini 6 will be a worthy successor. Somehow, Apple knows how to take us all by surprise, and that's quite amazing. Just when I thought Apple was going to take a break after the iPhone 12 series launch, then boom, they strike again, but this time around, stronger. With the sleek bezel designs on all their latest gadgets, we should expect something bigger and better in its coming product. Aside from the iPad devices being portable, they also come in handy for on-the-go use. I really cannot imagine myself struggling with my MacBook while at the pub or coffee shop. Little mishap and it's all damaged, but with an iPad, it's easier to navigate through my daily activities without flinching. Of course, preference comes to play, but I tell you, if there is any device you can never go wrong with, then it has to be the iPad. Little wonder why Apple will never relent on churning out amazing devices to make life easier and for our comfort. So far, all iPad devices have been amazing, with Apple making necessary upgrades as new products are being released. And this will about the generation of tablets from the Apple family iPad mini 6. Apple will surely introduce the iPad mini 6 in 2021. The tablet won't just be an extension of the compact type line. It also the Apple's smallest tablet ever. Unless of course, the guys from Cupertino decide to use Face ID in the next generation iPad mini already. Now we can see what the iPad mini 6 will effectively reduce the frames and remove the Touch ID fingerprint scanner that makes a device with an iPad Pro design, just with more compact sizes in the new concept. Some designers introduced the iPad Mini, which are almost 20% smaller than the current generation tablet of the same name, as can be achieved if Apple retains the same 7.9-inch display in the iPad Mini. 6 foot drastically resizes the front panel to reduce the total area. Essentially, it will be an iPad Pro with minimal frames around the display and Face ID instead of Touch ID. Earlier, Apple's authoritative analyst Machiko shared information that Apple will release a new iPad Mini with a display of 8.5 to 9 inches in the first half of 2021. Perhaps the guys from Cupertino will really decide to use a screen with a larger diagonal. However, this will not affect the size of the iPad itself. Alternatively, Apple can reduce the size of the iPad Mini front panels to adjust a large 8.5-inch or 9-inch display to a form factor similar to the current 7.9-inch iPad Mini. In this case, the size of the iPad Mini will remain unchanged. The display will be larger than other insiders, and Apple plans to update the 7.9-inch iPad Mini with a Mini LED display in 2020. The advantage of Mini LED technology is that the displays made of it can be much brighter, contrasting and richer than conventional ones. They will also be much more energy efficient than the LED, and more importantly, innovation will make the case of devices with such displays even thinner. Especially students have long wanted such a compact iPad that can be brought with them as easily as an iPhone. If the size of the new iPad is 20% smaller, it will become even more attractive to students. Why were a lot of books when there's an iPad Mini? Now there's a second generation iPad Mini. Minutes think frames compared to the iPad Pro seem ridiculous. So is the use of Touch ID when Apple has been actively promoting Face ID and its devices for several years. Besides, it's high time to meet the USB-C in the iPad Mini. Thus the tablet will get a design in the style of the iPad Pro. The current generation support for Apple Pencil to Smart Connector, the iPad Pro Mini will still be catching up. Apple will surely release a new iPad Pro later, which will be even cooler. That this will be the most important device update since 2012. However, after all, the iPad meaningfully seriously updated only when it was added support for Retina screen. The iPad Mini was last updated in March 2019, along with the iPad Air 3, and it finally grew 2012 Bionic processor and support for the first generation of Apple Pencil. Steve Jobs once spoke out strongly against the concept of an iPad with a small screen. However, Apple later came to release a compact version of the iPad. Anyway, despite the fact that Apple updated the iPad Pro in March, many are already asking what to expect from the next version of the tablets in the iPad Pro 2020. Engineers focused on the updated camera system and working with a new Magic Keyboard, which also supports the 2018 iPad Pro. The 2020 iPad Pro camera is working with a new LiDAR scanner for advanced portrait photos and augmented reality and inside technology and much more. One of the most significant changes in the next generation iPad Pro should be Mini LED technology. It is expected to bring many improvements, including improvements in display quality and increased battery life. Why does this happen instead of one large full-screen backlight? The Mini LED display consists of many small LEDs that can be turned on and off separately. This allows black areas of content to be really black, as the screen components are simply disabled completely in this area. Apple is interested in using such displays because they offer a rich and a wider range of colors, a high contrast ratio, a wide dynamic range, and local dimming. Many LED screens are also considered more energy efficient. Meanwhile, outlet displays have problems with burnout, color change, and high production costs for the iPad. This will be a serious step forward while the iPhone switched to LEDs starting with the iPhone 10. The iPad Pro still uses a regular backlit display. It is expected that other basic functions of the iPad Pro display will remain the same: 11-inch and 12.9-inch options, true tone for color temperature control, promotion for 120Hz refresh rate, and the quality of Liquid Retina. So is the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. The next generation iPad Pro also received 5G support for the first time. The tablet is likely to include support for both versions of 5G, with a frequency of up to 6 GHz. Apple will still use modems from Qualcomm for 5G in the iPad. The company is in the process of developing its own 5G modems, but they are not expected to be ready until at least 2022. With the above in mind, Apple is likely to gradually withdraw from Qualcomm modems. The only question is when this transition will begin. Finally, the next iPad Pro update will also bring a more significant performance increase. The most recent iPad Pro of 2020 is equipped with an 812C Bionic processor, which is technically identical to the A12X Bionic processor, just boasts an additional GPU port turned on A14, is expected to feature new A14 processor. In the next iPad Pro update, Apple's partner TSMC plans to launch production of the 814 processor, using a new manufacturing process soon. The processor will appear on the iPhone 12 later this year, and then on the new iPad Pro in 2021. The A14 CPU variant for the iPad Pro is likely to be even more powerful. These improvements are mainly related to the new manufacturing process. iPad Pro has 6GB of RAM, and it's unclear whether Apple plans to increase the amount of RAM in the next generation. Whether adding features like 5G and mini LED will lead to an increase in prices. Not yet known. Technologies like 5G are commonly expensive and consumed a lot of energy, so it is possible that Apple is using this as a reason to raise prices in the future. As for the release date, the reports originally reported that the next version of the iPad Pro would be released later. Ultimately, this means that the iPad Pro 2020, introduced in March, will be the only update to Apple's tablet line this year, but the new model with more radical changes is likely to be a real hit in 2021. Should I wait for the new iPad or bite now? The answer to this question probably depends on which iPad Pro you currently have, or if you find the tablet for the first time. My personal advice: if you have an iPad 2018, please subscribe, like the video, comment. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video. Peace out.